You're listening to The Shattered Trust. Written by Akumah and voiceover by Cora.
Akumah Audiobooks.
Chapter 1. The Perfect Illusion. The late September sun bathed Westwood High School in golden hues, the sky a canvas of soft blues and wispy clouds. The campus buzzed with the familiar hum of students spilling out of classrooms, their voices blending into a chaotic yet comforting symphony of high school life. Among the crowd, Madison Hayes stood out, not because she tried to but because she couldn't help it. Her auburn hair cascaded down her shoulders in soft waves, framing a face that effortlessly carried a blend of warmth and quiet confidence. She wasn't the loudest or the most popular girl in school, but she was the kind of person everyone gravitated toward. Kind, ambitious, and genuine. And of course she was Ryan Carter's girlfriend. Ryan was the kind of guy every girl in school either crushed on or envied Madison for. Tall, athletic, with that effortless charm that made teachers lenient and friends loyal. He was the school's star basketball player, but more than that, he was the kind of boyfriend that showed up with coffee on exam mornings, left notes in Madison's locker, and made even the simplest moments feel cinematic. It had been 2 years since they started dating, and in Madison's eyes, everything was still perfect. "Madison." A familiar voice called out. Olivia Carter, Ryan's twin sister and one of Madison's closest friends, jogged up beside her, flipping her honey blonde hair over one shoulder. "You're still coming over for dress shopping, right? We need to find the perfect one for you. Homecoming is only 2 weeks away." Madison laughed, adjusting the books in her arms. "Of course. You know me, I can't make a decision without your brutally honest input." "Damn right," Olivia smirked. "And Ryan? Is he still clueless about what tie to wear?" Madison rolled her eyes playfully. "As always. He said he'll match whatever I wear, so that's progress at least." Their laughter was light and easy, a stark contrast to the slight tension lingering in the air, tension that Madison didn't fully understand yet. Across the courtyard, Ethan Brooks leaned against his locker, arms crossed as he watched the interaction. Unlike Ryan, Ethan had an understated presence. He wasn't the loudest in the room, nor did he seek attention, but he was always there. Observant. Patient. The best friend who never said too much but always saw more than he let on. And right now what he saw worried him. Madison was happy, she always looked happy around Ryan. But Ethan had noticed the shifts. Ryan's absences, his vague excuses, the way Olivia hesitated before talking about him sometimes. It wasn't his place to say anything, but his gut told him something wasn't right. Madison finally spotted Ethan and made her way over, flashing him a grin. "Hey stranger. Avoiding people again?" Ethan smirked. "Only the ones who ask too many questions." Madison rolled her eyes. "Which means me." "Exactly." She nudged him with her elbow, an easy familiarity settling between them. Ethan had been her friend long before Ryan had come into the picture, and though they weren't as close as they once were, there was still a quiet understanding between them. Olivia glanced between the two of them before clearing her throat. "Well, I should go find my brother. Madison, don't forget, dress shopping my place 5 o'clock. "Got it," Madison replied before turning back to Ethan. "You should come to homecoming, you know. It wouldn't kill you to dress up for once." Ethan scoffed. "Pretty sure it would. You could at least pretend to have fun." "I could," he admitted, "but where's the fun in that?" Madison shook her head, laughing before glancing at the clock. "I gotta run. Ryan's picking me up." Ethan hesitated for just a second before nodding. "Yeah, sure. Have fun." As she walked away, he exhaled slowly, watching as she disappeared through the hallway doors. The parking lot was half empty by the time Madison reached Ryan's car, the familiar sleek black Mustang parked in its usual spot. She slid into the passenger seat, smiling as Ryan leaned over to kiss her cheek. "Hey beautiful," he greeted, flashing that signature grin that made her stomach flip even after all this time. "Hey," she replied, buckling her seatbelt. "How was practice?" "Brutal. Coach is pushing us hard for the championship." He ran a hand through his dark hair, exhaling. "But enough about that. How was your day?" "Good," she said, relaxing into the seat. "Olivia's dragging me dress shopping later. You're still good for homecoming, right?" Ryan hesitated just for a second, but Madison caught it. "Yeah, of course," he said quickly. "Wouldn't miss it for the world." She studied him for a moment, something in his tone feeling slightly off. But before she could press further, his phone buzzed on the dashboard. The screen lit up. A message from an unknown number. "Can't wait to see you tonight." Madison's stomach tightened. Ryan grabbed the phone quickly, flipping it over before she could read more. "Coach," he said too casually. "Probably changing practice times again." She wanted to believe him. She really did. But something about the way he avoided her gaze made her chest tighten. "Right," she murmured, forcing a smile. "That makes sense." Ryan reached over, taking her hand in his. "Hey, don't stress. Everything's good, okay?" She nodded, but for the first time in their relationship, doubt crept in. As they drove off, Madison stared out the window, unable to shake the feeling that something wasn't right. She just didn't know what it was yet. Madison tried to shake the uneasiness twisting in her stomach, but the image of Ryan's phone screen lingered in her mind. She told herself it was nothing, probably a misunderstanding. Maybe it really was his coach. Maybe she was overthinking. But why did it feel so wrong? Ryan pulled into her driveway and Madison exhaled slowly before turning to him. "You want to come in for a bit?" He hesitated, tapping his fingers against the steering wheel. "Can't. I promised my mom I'd help out with something." Madison frowned. "I thought you said she was out of town this week." For a split second, his expression faltered, just enough for her to notice. Then, as if flipping a switch, he chuckled. "Oh, yeah, I met my dad. He's been on my case about stuff lately." The explanation felt rushed, flimsy. Madison forced a smile, nodding. "Got it. No worries." Ryan leaned in, pressing a quick kiss to her forehead. "I'll call you later, okay?" She nodded, stepping out of the car and watching as he drove off. The unease remained. By the time 5 o'clock rolled around, Madison had convinced herself she was just being paranoid. She wasn't going to let a single text ruin her mood. She and Olivia were supposed to be having fun after all. "All right," Olivia declared, stepping back with a critical eye as Madison emerged from the dressing room. "That color is insane on you." Madison turned to the mirror, taking in the deep emerald green gown that hugged her frame in all the right places. The satin flowed down elegantly, pooling just at her feet. It was perfect, except her heart wasn't in it. "I don't know," she murmured, adjusting the straps. "It feels off." Olivia rolled her eyes. "Girl, you are overthinking this. You look stunning." Madison forced a laugh. "Maybe you're right." Something about Olivia's tone made her pause. Normally, her best friend would be gushing over dress choices and already planning accessories. But tonight something was different. Madison wasn't the only one acting off. "You okay?" she asked. Olivia stiffened slightly before flashing a tight smile. "Yeah, of course. Just tired." Madison let it go, for now. Later that night, curled up in bed, Madison stared at her phone. Ryan still hadn't called. She bit her lip, debating whether or not to text him first. Maybe he really was busy. Maybe she was just being that girlfriend, the paranoid, clingy one. But then she thought about the text again. "Can't wait to see you tonight." Her gut twisted. Taking a deep breath, she tapped out a message. "Madison, hey, how's your night going?" A few minutes passed. Then finally 3 dots appeared. Ryan, "Hey babe, sorry I didn't call. Crazy night, I just crashed. Talk tomorrow?" Her stomach dropped. He just crashed? Then why had he been typing for so long? And more importantly, why did she feel like he was lying? The next day at school everything felt normal. Almost too normal. Ryan greeted her with a kiss like always. Olivia chatted with her at lunch and Ethan kept watching her like he knew something she didn't. "Okay, what is with you?" she finally asked, dropping her books onto her desk as they waited for class to start. Ethan raised a brow. "What do you mean?" "You're staring." He hesitated before sighing. "You just look distracted." Madison crossed her arms. So, Ethan said carefully, "if something's bothering you, you can talk to me." For a moment she considered it. But then Ryan slid into the seat beside her, draping an arm over her chair, and the moment passed. "Morning, babe," Ryan murmured, pressing a kiss to her temple. "Everything okay?" Madison hesitated, glancing between him and Ethan. Was everything okay? She wasn't sure anymore. "Yeah," she lied, plastering on a smile. "Everything's fine." Ethan didn't look convinced. By the time Friday rolled around, The doubt had begun to eat away at her. Ryan had been distant all week. Cancelled plans, short texts, vague excuses. Madison knew something was wrong. And she was done pretending otherwise. That night she told her parents she was sleeping over at Olivia's, but instead she found herself sitting outside Ryan's house, parked a few houses down, her hands gripping the steering wheel tightly. She didn't know what she was looking for. Proof? Closure? A reason to believe she wasn't crazy? Her heart pounded as she watched his front door. And then just past 10 o'clock it opened. Ryan stepped out. And he wasn't alone. Madison's breath caught in her throat as Olivia followed him onto the porch. Her Olivia. Her best friend. And the way Olivia reached for Ryan's arm, the way he let her, made Madison's world shatter. She couldn't breathe. She couldn't think. All she could do was sit there, frozen in the driver's seat, watching as the perfect illusion of her relationship came crumbling down.
Akumah Audiobooks.
You're listening to The Shattered Trust. Written by Akumah and voiceover by Cora.
Akumah Audiobooks.
Chapter 2: Shattered Trust. Madison couldn't move. Her hands tightened around the steering wheel as she watched Ryan and Olivia standing on his porch, wrapped in a moment that shouldn't exist. Olivia laughed at something he said, nudging his arm, the same way she used to nudge Madison's when they joked around. She wanted to believe it was just a misunderstanding. Maybe Olivia had come over to talk about something innocent. Maybe she was overreacting. But then Ryan reached out, fingers brushing against Olivia's waist before pulling her close. And Madison's world shattered. Her breath hitched. A burning sensation clawed at her chest, her stomach twisting in on itself. This wasn't just a coincidence. This wasn't innocent. Ryan was cheating on her. And Olivia, her best friend, was with him. The betrayal hit harder than she thought possible. It was one thing to suspect, to have that gnawing feeling in the back of her mind. But seeing it, watching it unfold right in front of her, felt like a knife to the heart. Her pulse pounded in her ears, drowning out every rational thought. She wanted to confront them. She wanted to scream. She wanted to make them feel even half of what she was feeling. But instead she sat frozen, unable to tear her eyes away. And then, Olivia kissed him. Madison gasped audibly, her body jerking as if she'd been physically struck. Her vision blurred as hot tears welled up, her throat tightening. She had seen enough. With shaking hands she started her car and peeled away from the curb, the engine roaring in the quiet night. She didn't know where she was going. All she knew was that she couldn't be there anymore. Madison drove aimlessly through the empty streets, her mind spinning. Anger, hurt, confusion. It all twisted together, suffocating her. She couldn't understand it. Why? Had she done something wrong? Had Ryan ever really loved her? Had Olivia, her best friend, been lying to her this whole time? A sharp sob broke past her lips, and she gripped the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles turned white. This was a nightmare. It had to be. Because the alternative, that this was real, was too painful to accept. Her phone buzzed on the passenger seat. She glanced at the screen, her breath hitching when she saw Ryan's name. Ryan, hey babe, you okay? Haven't heard from you today. A bitter laugh bubbled up from her throat. Unbelievable. He was lying. Even now, after everything, he was still pretending. Her hands trembled as she typed out a response. Madison, are you home? A few seconds passed. Ryan, yeah, just got back. Sup? The rage burned hotter. He was still lying. She wanted to call him out right then and there, but something inside her held back. Well, if he was going to play this game, she'd play along. For now. Madison tossed her phone onto the seat and gritted her teeth, forcing herself to focus on the road. She needed time to think. To plan. To figure out exactly how she was going to make them both regret this. By the time Madison pulled into her driveway, the tears had dried, replaced with a cold, simmering fury. She stepped inside, her house eerily silent. Her parents were already asleep, oblivious to the storm brewing inside her. Heading upstairs, she threw herself onto her bed, staring at the ceiling. A million thoughts ran through her mind, but one stood out the most. What now? She couldn't just pretend everything was fine. But she also wasn't ready to confront them, not yet. She needed proof. Real, undeniable proof. And she knew exactly where to get it. The next morning at school, Madison walked in with a plan. She wasn't going to cry. She wasn't going to make a scene. She was going to be smart. Ethan was waiting by her locker, watching her carefully as she approached. "Hey," he said, eyes flickering over her face. "You look different." Madison forced a smile. "Just tired." He didn't buy it. "Madison." "Not now," she interrupted, opening her locker and grabbing her books. "I have something I need to do." Ethan studied her for a moment before nodding. "All right. But if you need to talk, I'll let you know," she finished. For now she had bigger things to focus on. Ryan was already at his usual spot near the cafeteria, leaning against a table, laughing with his friends like nothing was wrong. Like he hadn't shattered her heart into pieces the night before. Olivia was nowhere in sight. Good. Taking a deep breath, Madison forced herself to walk over. Ryan's face lit up when he saw her. "Hey, beautiful." The words felt hollow. She smiled tightly. "Hey, can we talk?" His brow furrowed slightly, but he nodded. "Yeah, of course." She led him away from his friends, to a quieter part of the hallway. Then she pulled out her phone and hit record. "So," she said, keeping her voice steady, "how was your night?" Ryan shrugged. "Boring. Just stayed home, played some video games." Madison clenched her jaw. "Liar. No visitors?" she asked, tilting her head. His expression didn't change. "Nope." She smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Got it. You just dug your own grave, Ryan." Madison kept her phone steady, the red recording icon glowing at the bottom of the screen. Ryan stood in front of her, completely unaware. His lie had already slipped past his lips, smooth, effortless. "No visitors?" she had asked. "Nope," he had said. She forced a small laugh as if amused. But inside her blood boiled. "Funny," she said, tilting her head, "because I could have sworn I saw Olivia heading toward your place last night." Ryan's expression barely flickered. He had perfected this act. Calm, unbothered, confident. But Madison knew better. He shrugged. "Oh yeah. I mean, she might have stopped by for a second. Just to borrow something." Her grip on her phone tightened. Unbelievable. "Oh. What did she borrow?" Ryan hesitated. Just for a second. It was small, almost imperceptible, but Madison caught it. He was scrambling. "A book," he finally said. "For history class." Madison nearly laughed. Olivia hated history. He didn't even bother to come up with a good lie. She took a slow step forward, lowering her voice. "That's weird because I could have sworn I saw her inside your house. And I don't think she was borrowing a book." Ryan's jaw tensed. "Mads, what are you?" "Cut the act, Ryan," she snapped, the fake smile dropping from her face. A flicker of something crossed his expression. Annoyance, maybe even guilt. But he recovered quickly. "I don't know what you think you saw," he said, forcing a chuckle, "but you're overreacting." That word. Overreacting. Madison had heard it before. Every time she called Ryan out on something that didn't add up. Every time she knew something was wrong. He always made her feel like she was the problem. Not this time. She took out her phone and stopped the recording. "You should work on your lying skills," she said coolly, tucking it into her pocket. Ryan's face darkened. "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" Madison didn't answer. She turned on her heel and walked away, leaving him standing there watching her go. This wasn't over. Not yet. The rest of the school day blurred together. Madison avoided Olivia completely. She couldn't trust herself not to snap. Every time she caught a glimpse of her, laughing with their usual group of friends, acting like nothing had changed, her anger flared all over again. Instead, she focused on her next move. She needed to be smart about this. She could expose Ryan easily enough. She had proof now, and if she really wanted to, she could send the recording to everyone in their friend group. But something about that felt unsatisfying. Ryan would just lie his way out of it. No, she needed something undeniable. Something that would make them both pay. And then, as she sat in class, staring blankly at her history textbook, an idea hit her. If Ryan and Olivia thought they could get away with this, she'd show them just how wrong they were. She needed more proof. And she knew exactly how to get it. That evening, Madison sat in her room, staring at her phone. "Ethan, you okay? You've been quiet all day." She exhaled sharply. Ethan had been watching her closely, but she wasn't ready to tell him everything. "Not yet. Madison, I need your help with something." The typing bubble appeared almost immediately. Ethan, anything. Sup. She hesitated for only a second before replying. Madison, meet me outside Olivia's house in 30 minutes. She knew it was risky. If Olivia or Ryan caught her, things could get messy. But she didn't care. If they wanted to play dirty, she could too. The night air was cool as Madison pulled up a few houses down from Olivia's place. The street was quiet, the only sounds coming from distant traffic. Ethan was already waiting by the curb, leaning against his car. He straightened when she approached. Okay, he said, crossing his arms. What exactly are we doing here? Madison's heart pounded, but she kept her voice steady. I need to know if Ryan's here. Ethan blinked. You think? I know he is, she corrected. I just need proof. Ethan studied her for a long moment. Then, without asking any more questions, he nodded. All right, he said. Let's do it. They moved carefully, sticking to the shadows as they approached Olivia's house. The curtains were drawn, but a dim glow leaked from the living room windows. Madison's pulse quickened. She crouched near the side of the house, peeking in through the small gap between the curtains. Her breath caught. Ryan was there, and so was Olivia. They were sitting on the couch, close, too close. Olivia's legs were tucked under her, her body angled toward Ryan, who had his arm draped lazily over the back of the couch. Madison clenched her fists. They weren't even trying to hide it. Ethan shifted beside her. Damn, he muttered. They're bold. Madison reached for her phone, angling the camera just right. She hit record, the screen capturing everything. Ryan leaning in, Olivia whispering something in his ear, his smirk as he laughed. She felt sick. This was it. The final piece of proof she needed. But it wasn't enough. She wanted more. Just as she was about to pull back, Olivia stood up and disappeared into another room. Ryan stretched, grabbing his phone. A second later, Madison's phone buzzed. Ryan, hey babe, miss you. Hope you're having a good night. Her blood ran cold. Ethan saw the message over her shoulder and let out a low whistle. Wow. He really has no shame. Madison's grip on her phone tightened. She was done. No more waiting. No more pretending. Tomorrow she was ending this. And she was taking both of them down with her.
Akumah Audiobooks.
You're listening to The Shattered Trust. Written by Akumah and voiceover by Cora.
Akumah Audiobooks.
Chapter 3. A Storm of Lies. The next morning, Madison woke up with a plan. She had barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw them, Ryan and Olivia, laughing together, whispering secrets in the dim glow of her living room. And then Ryan's text. Hey babe, miss you. Hope you're having a good night. The nerve. But today everything would change. Madison wasn't the type to cause a scene, at least she hadn't been before. She had always been the girl who let things go, who gave people the benefit of the doubt. But Ryan and Olivia had underestimated her. She wouldn't be quiet about this. Not anymore. By the time she got to school, the halls were already buzzing with the usual morning energy. Friends huddled near lockers, teachers chatted near their classrooms, and the faint sound of laughter and gossip filled the air. Madison spotted Olivia first. She was at her locker, casually scrolling through her phone like nothing was wrong. Like she hadn't been with Ryan last night. Madison's fingers curled around her phone. He had the video queued up ready. She could send it to their friend group with one tap. But no. That was too easy. Too impersonal. She wanted to see the look on Olivia's face when she realized she had been caught. She wanted to watch Ryan squirm. As if on cue, Ryan appeared at the other end of the hallway. He moved confidently as if nothing in the world could touch him, greeting people as he passed. And then when he spotted Madison, he grinned like he always did, like they were fine. Like he hadn't betrayed her. Madison's chest burned, but she forced herself to smile back. Not in the way he expected, though. This wasn't a warm, forgiving smile. This was a warning. She turned and walked away, leaving Ryan staring after her. He had no idea what was coming. In English class, Madison took a seat near the middle of the room, her usual spot. Ryan slid into the chair beside her just before the bell rang. "Morning, babe," he said casually. She clenched her teeth. He had the audacity to act like nothing had happened. "Morning," she replied, voice tight. Ryan pulled out his notebook and flipped it open like he didn't have a care in the world. "So, I was thinking we should do something this weekend," he said. Just us. Maybe go to the lake. Madison turned to look at him, studying his face. How many times had he lied to her like this? How many times had she fallen for it? She forced a small smile. That sounds nice. Ryan grinned, clearly pleased with himself. Madison resisted the urge to laugh. He had no idea that in less than an hour, everyone in this room would know exactly who he was. The plan was simple. Step 1. Confront Olivia in front of their friends. Step 2. Make sure Ryan was there to witness it. Step 3. Watch it all burn. By lunchtime, the cafeteria was packed. Students crowded around tables, laughing and chatting over their food. Madison spotted her group sitting at their usual table near the windows. Olivia was there. So was Ryan. Perfect. She took a deep breath and walked over, feeling her pulse quicken. The second she reached the table, the conversation died down. Olivia looked up and smiled. Hey, Mads. Madison almost laughed at how normal she sounded. Like she hadn't spent last night with Madison's boyfriend. Madison set her phone down on the table and met Olivia's gaze. Hey, Liv, she said, keeping her voice light. Quick question. Olivia blinked. Sure. What's up? Madison tilted her head. How was Ryan's last night? The air shifted instantly. Ryan, who had been in the middle of taking a sip of his drink, choked slightly. Olivia's fingers tightened around her fork. For a split second nobody spoke. Then Olivia let out a small laugh. What are you talking about? Oh, I just thought you'd know, Madison said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. Since you were there. The table went dead silent. A few people glanced at Ryan, waiting for his reaction. He set his drink down, clearing his throat. Mads, I don't know what you think you... Madison cut him off with a sharp laugh. Oh no. I know. She reached for her phone, unlocking it with a quick swipe. See, I thought it was weird when Olivia suddenly needed to borrow something from you last night, she continued, scrolling through her videos. So I decided to do a little investigating. She turned the screen toward them and hit play. The video showed exactly what she had recorded. Ryan sitting way too close to Olivia, laughing at something she said. Then Olivia disappearing into the next room while Ryan grabbed his phone. A second later, her phone buzzed, perfectly in sync with the moment she received his text. Ryan's face paled. Olivia's eyes widened. Mads, this isn't. Don't. Madison's voice was cold. Don't even try. The tension at the table was unbearable. Nobody moved. Ryan opened his mouth, but no words came out. For the first time he had nothing to say. Madison looked at Olivia one last time. You could have told me, she said quietly. You could have been honest. But you chose to go behind my back. Olivia swallowed hard, looking down at her tray. Madison exhaled sharply and grabbed her phone. She was done. Without another word, she turned and walked away. The cafeteria was still buzzing, but now all eyes were on her. She ignored them, pushing through the doors and stepping out into the hallway. Her hands were shaking. She had won. But why didn't it feel as satisfying as she thought it would? A familiar voice called after her. Madison, wait. She turned to see Ethan jogging toward her. She hadn't expected him to follow. Are you okay? He asked when he reached her. Madison let out a breath. I don't know, she admitted. Ethan hesitated, then offered a small smile. Well, for what it's worth, that was pretty badass. Madison laughed, even though she didn't really feel like it. Come on, Ethan said, nudging her shoulder. Let's get out of here for a bit. Madison nodded, letting him lead the way. She had gotten her revenge. But deep down something still felt unfinished. And she had a feeling this wasn't over yet. Madison walked beside Ethan in silence, the distant hum of the cafeteria still ringing in her ears. The confrontation had played out exactly as she had planned, but instead of feeling victorious she felt hollow. She had exposed Ryan and Olivia. She had watched their faces fall, seen the guilt in Olivia's eyes and the shock in Ryan's. But why did it still feel like something was missing? Ethan nudged her lightly. You could. She let out a breath, shaking her head. I don't know. He gave her a knowing look. It's never as satisfying as you think, huh? Madison frowned. What do you mean? Ethan shrugged, stuffing his hands into his pockets. You picture revenge like some grand moment, right? Like once you do it, everything clicks into place and you suddenly feel better. But it doesn't really work like that. Madison glanced at him. Did something like this happen to you? Ethan hesitated. Kind of. She waited, but he didn't elaborate. Instead, he led her down the hallway, away from the cafeteria and toward the side exit of the school. It was one of those doors students weren't technically supposed to use during lunch, but nobody really enforced the rule. Ethan pushed it open, letting a cool breeze hit them as they stepped outside. The courtyard was mostly empty, except for a few students sitting near the benches. The sky was overcast, the wind carrying the scent of rain. Madison crossed her arms, watching the gray clouds swirl above them. Ethan sat down on a bench and gestured for her to join him. So, he said, what's next? Madison let out a dry laugh. I have no idea. You don't want to go back in there? She shook her head. Not yet. Ethan nodded, tapping his fingers against the bench. Ryan's probably scrambling to fix his image right now. Madison scoffed. Let him. They sat in silence for a while. Madison watched the leaves rustling in the wind, her mind replaying the moment at the lunch table over and over. Finally, Ethan spoke again. You know, just because you expose them doesn't mean it'll give you closure. Madison turned to him. Then what does? He sighed, leaning back against the bench. That's the hard part. You have to figure that out for yourself. Madison exhaled sharply. Great. Super helpful. Ethan chuckled. Sorry. No easy answers. Madison rubbed her arms against the chill in the air. I thought it would feel different. Yeah, Ethan said softly. I get that. She looked at him. What happened to you? Ethan hesitated. Then after a long pause he finally spoke. My ex cheated on me, he said simply. Madison blinked. Wait, seriously? He nodded, his expression unreadable. It was a while ago. I found out and did the whole expose them in public thing just like you did. Madison frowned. And? Ethan shrugged. It didn't fix anything. I mean, yeah, I embarrassed them, but I still felt like crap after. I was still hurt. I was still angry. And they still moved on. Madison processed his words. Did you regret it? She asked. Ethan considered that. No. But I realized that exposing them wasn't the real closure I needed. Madison looked down at her hands. Then what was? Ethan smiled faintly. Letting go. She let his words sink in, the weight of them settling in her chest. Letting go. Could she do that? He wasn't sure. But before she could think too much about it, the sound of footsteps approaching pulled her from her thoughts. She turned and froze. Ryan. Ryan looked furious. His usual cool, confident expression was gone, replaced with something sharp and tense. His jaw was set, his hands clenched at his sides. Madison stood up, bracing herself. What do you want? Ryan's eyes flicked between her and Ethan. Can we talk? Ethan didn't move. She doesn't owe you anything, dude. Ryan ignored him, his gaze locked on Madison. Just 5 minutes, he said, his voice quieter now. Madison crossed her arms. Why should I? Ryan let out a breath, running a hand through his hair. Because I need to explain. Madison narrowed her eyes. Explain what? She snapped. That you lied to me? That you cheated? That you texted me like nothing happened while you were with her? Ryan flinched at her words. It wasn't like that. Oh. Madison let out a hollow laugh. Then please tell me, what was it like? Ryan hesitated, glancing around as if checking for eavesdroppers. Ethan stood up, stepping between them slightly. I don't think she wants to hear it, man. Ryan shot him a glare. Stay out of this. Ethan raised his hands. Hey, I'm just here to make sure she doesn't waste her time listening to more of your lies. Madison wasn't sure whether to be annoyed or grateful for Ethan's interference. Ryan exhaled sharply, turning back to her. Look, Mads, I messed up. He stopped, shaking his head. It didn't mean anything. Madison felt something inside her snap. It didn't mean anything. How many times had she heard that excuse in movies? In books? How many times had cheaters used those words to justify hurting someone? She clenched her fists. You don't get to decide that. Ryan blinked. What? You don't get to decide what it meant, she said, her voice trembling. You don't get to act like it was nothing when it meant everything to me. Ryan looked stunned, like he hadn't expected her to fight back. She took a shaky breath, forcing herself to meet his gaze. You broke my trust. You made me doubt everything I thought I knew about us. And you want to stand here and tell me it didn't mean anything? Ryan's mouth opened but no words came out. Madison shook her head. We're done. Ryan flinched. Mads, please. No, she said firmly. We're done. A long silence stretched between them. Then finally Ryan exhaled and took a step back. Okay. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't an excuse. It was just a single broken word. Then he turned and walked away. Madison watched him go, her heart hammering. For the first time since this whole mess started, she felt like she could breathe. Ethan let out a low whistle. Damn. Madison swallowed, shaking her head. I don't even know what just happened. Ethan grinned. What happened is, you won. She let out a breathy laugh, the tension finally starting to lift. Maybe Ethan was right. Maybe revenge wasn't the answer. Maybe it wasn't about exposing Ryan. Maybe it wasn't about making Olivia feel guilty. Maybe it was just about moving on. And for the first time in days, Madison thought, maybe she could.
Akumah Audiobooks.
You're listening to The Shattered Trust. Written by Akumah and voiceover by Cora.
Akumah Audiobooks.
Chapter 4. The Weight of What's Left Behind. Madison sat on the bleachers, her fingers running absent-mindedly over the metal surface. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the football field, the sky painted in hues of gold and pink. The air smelled of freshly cut grass, and the faint cheers of practice drills filled the space. She had come here to think. It had been 2 days since she had confronted Ryan, 2 days since she had finally walked away. She had expected to feel lighter. Instead she felt untethered. Her phone buzzed in her lap and she glanced down. A text from Ethan. "Vin, you alive?" She smiled faintly, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. Madison, barely. A moment later another message popped up. "Ethan, need me to come rescue you from your own thoughts?" Madison hesitated before replying. "Madison, maybe." She sighed, locking her phone and staring out at the field. A few players jogged by, calling out plays, their laughter light and easy. She used to sit here with Ryan. The thought hit her like a gut punch, memories rushing in before she could stop them. The way he used to drape his arm around her shoulders, the way he used to nudge her playfully when she got too serious, the way he used to look at her, like she was the only person in the world. Had it all been a lie? "Hey you." Madison looked up to see Ethan climbing the bleachers, 2 sodas in hand. He plopped down beside her, handing her one. "You looked like you needed a drink," he said. She huffed a laugh, popping the can open. "What, no rescue mission?" Ethan smirked. "This is the rescue mission." She took a sip, letting the cold carbonation burn her throat. "Thanks." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the wind ruffling their hair. Then Ethan nudged her. "You're thinking too much." She exhaled. "I can't help it." He tilted his head. "Ryan." She didn't answer. Ethan let out a low whistle. "Yeah. That's a yes." Madison groaned, pressing her hands to her face. "I hate that he still takes up space in my head." Ethan leaned back, watching the sky. "That's how it works. You don't just turn off feelings like a switch." She peeked at him through her fingers. "You sound like a therapist." He grinned. "I am the best fake therapist at this school." Madison laughed despite herself, shaking her head. "Just, I spent so much time with him. I don't know how to go back to being me without him." Ethan's expression softened. "You don't have to be who you were with him. You get to figure out who you are now." She swallowed hard, staring at the field. "What if I don't know who that is?" He nudged her knee with his. "Then you start figuring it out." A gust of wind swept through the bleachers, rustling Madison's hair. She thought about Ethan's words. Who was she without Ryan? The student? Friend? A girl who had been hurt but refused to break? Maybe all of the above. Maybe something more. Her phone buzzed again and she glanced down. A text from Olivia. He stiffened. "Olivia, can we talk? Please?" Madison stared at the screen. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. Her heart pounded. Could she face Olivia? Did she want to? Ethan peered over. "Who is it?" She hesitated. "Olivia." His expression darkened. "What does she want?" Madison exhaled. "To talk." Ethan made a face. "And you're considering it?" She bit her lip. I don't know. Ethan leaned back, tapping his chin against his knee. You don't owe her anything. Madison swallowed. I know. And yet, there was a part of her that did want to hear what Olivia had to say. Not for Olivia's sake, but for her own. She took a deep breath and typed out a response. Madison, okay. Meet me at the library after school. She hit send before she could change her mind. Ethan sighed. I feel like I should stop you. Madison offered a small smile. But you won't. He studied her, then shook his head. No. But I'll be here if you need to vent about it after. She nudged his shoulder. Thanks. Ethan smirked. Just don't let her make you feel bad for standing up for yourself. Madison clenched her soda can, watching the sky darken with the promise of rain. She wasn't sure what Olivia wanted, but she was ready to find out. The library was nearly empty when Madison walked in. The fluorescent lights cast a dim glow over the rows of bookshelves, and the quiet hum of the air conditioning filled the space. She spotted Olivia immediately, sitting at a table near the back, her hands wrapped around a cup of coffee. She looked nervous, her leg bouncing under the table, her lips pressed into a thin line. Madison took a steadying breath before walking over. Olivia looked up, her eyes flickering with something unreadable. You came. Madison slid into the chair across from her. Yeah. A tense silence stretched between them. Madison crossed her arms, waiting. She wasn't going to make this easy for Olivia. Olivia sighed, staring down at her coffee. I know I don't deserve this conversation. Madison didn't say anything. I need to say I'm sorry. Olivia looked up, her expression raw. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I am sorry, Maddie. The nickname stung. Madison used to love hearing it from Olivia. Now it felt like a cruel reminder of everything that had been ruined. She exhaled slowly. Why did you do it? Olivia flinched, looking down again. I don't have a good excuse. I wasn't thinking. She hesitated, gripping the coffee cup tighter. I liked the attention. I liked how it felt to be wanted. And Ryan, he made it easy. Madison's jaw clenched. You knew how much I loved him. I know, Olivia whispered. Madison shook her head, emotions swirling inside her. So what? Just happened? That's what you want me to believe. No, Olivia said quickly. I made a choice. A terrible one. And I hate myself for it. Madison scoffed. Yeah. Well, congratulations. You got what you wanted. Olivia looked like she wanted to cry. No, Maddie. I lost you. And I regret that more than anything. Something inside Madison cracked at those words. Because once upon a time, Olivia had been her best friend. She remembered sleepovers, whispered secrets, inside jokes that no one else understood. She remembered late-night calls, Olivia's laughter, the way they used to swear they'd always have each other's backs. Now they were sitting across from each other like strangers, with an ocean of betrayal between them. Madison looked away. I don't know what you want from me. I don't expect you to forgive me, Olivia said. I didn't want us to end like this. Madison laughed bitterly. Olivia, this is how you ended us. The second you decided I didn't matter. Olivia winced. You do matter. Not enough. A heavy silence settled between them. Madison swallowed the lump in her throat. Are you still with him? Olivia hesitated. No. Madison looked up. He left you, didn't he? Olivia nodded, her expression miserable. After you found out, everything changed. He pulled away and then he broke things off. Madison let out a humorless laugh. So he got bored. Olivia blinked rapidly as if trying to hold back tears. I think he never really cared about either of us. The truth of that hurt more than Madison wanted to admit. She studied Olivia's face, the regret, the shame, the sadness. She had spent so much time hating Olivia, imagining revenge, wanting her to suffer. But now looking at her, he just felt tired. I don't hate you, Madison admitted. I wish I did. It would be easier. Olivia let out a shaky breath. I don't hate you either. Madison nodded slowly. But I don't think we can be friends again. A tear slipped down Olivia's cheek and she wiped it away quickly. I figured. Madison stood, her heart feeling both heavier and lighter at the same time. I hope you learn from this, Olivia. I really do. She turned and walked away without looking back. And for the first time in weeks, she didn't feel like she was drowning. Later that night, Madison sat on her bed staring at her phone. She had deleted Ryan's number days ago, but Olivia's contact still remained. Her thumb hovered over it. Then slowly she pressed delete. A breath she hadn't realized she was holding escaped her lips. Her phone buzzed. Then so, how did it go? She smiled faintly. Madison, it's over. A moment later another text popped up. Ethan, good. You free tomorrow? I feel like you owe me ice cream for sitting through this drama with you. Madison chuckled. Madison, you're the worst. Ethan, but I'm right. She rolled her eyes but felt lighter than she had in weeks. Maybe, just maybe, she was finally moving on.
Akumah Audiobooks.
You're listening to The Shattered Trust. Written by Akumah and voiceover by Cora.
Akumah Audiobooks.
Chapter 5. A New Beginning. The final bell of the school year rang, signaling the end of something Madison once thought would define her forever. As students the hallways, laughter and chatter echoing through the corridors, she stood by her locker, breathing in the moment. For weeks, the pain had consumed her. Ryan's betrayal, Olivia's lies, the way her world had crumbled in an instant. But today felt different. Not perfect, not painless, but lighter. Like the storm had passed, leaving behind something new. A tap on her shoulder pulled her from her thoughts. You look like you're having a main character moment, Ethan teased, leaning against the lockers. His grin was lazy but his eyes searched hers, checking in. Madison rolled her eyes. And you look like you're trying too hard to be the comic relief. Ethan clutched his chest dramatically. Ouch. I thought I was the charming love interest. She laughed, shaking her head. Not even close. He smirked. You sure? 'Cause I'm pretty sure you like having me around. Madison opened her mouth for a comeback, but something about the way he looked at her made the words die on her tongue. His teasing was familiar, comforting. But there was something else there too, something softer, more serious. Something she wasn't quite ready to name. Before she could respond, she spotted Olivia down the hall, walking alone. Their eyes met for a split second before Olivia quickly looked away, disappearing into the crowd. No words were exchanged. No final moment of closure. But maybe this was closure. Madison turned back to Ethan, exhaling slowly. You know what? You're kind of annoying. But yeah, I guess I don't mind having you around. Ethan grinned. That's the best compliment I've ever gotten from you. She rolled her eyes but smiled. Come on, I still owe you ice cream. He slung his arm around her shoulders as they walked out of the school, stepping into a future that no longer felt so uncertain. Maybe she wasn't completely healed. Maybe some scars would stay. But for the first time in a long time she felt ready to move forward. And that was enough. The warm summer air wrapped around Madison as she and Ethan strolled down the street, their destination a small ice cream shop that had been their go-to since middle school. The evening sun painted the sky in soft hues of orange and pink, casting a golden glow over everything. Ethan had insisted on walking instead of driving, claiming that great philosophical conversations only happened during long walks. Madison had rolled her eyes at that, but she was secretly grateful for the fresh air. So, Ethan started, glancing at her, now that you've officially reclaimed your life, what's next for the great Madison Carter? Madison smirked. Great? That's a stretch. Excuse me? I just watched you rise from the ashes like a freaking phoenix. You deserve at least a dramatic title. She laughed, shaking her head. I don't know. I think for the first time in a long time I don't need to have everything figured out. She looked at him. And that's kind of nice. Ethan nodded thoughtfully. Yeah, I get that. But you know, if you ever need a distraction, I'm available for sarcastic commentary and unsolicited life advice. Madison nudged him with her shoulder. Oh, lucky me. They reached the ice cream shop, a small family-owned place that had been around for decades. The neon sign flickered slightly and inside the scent of freshly made waffle cones filled the air. As they stepped up to the counter, Ethan turned to her. All right, moment of truth. If you order something boring like vanilla, I'm walking out of here. Madison gasped dramatically. How dare you? Vanilla is a classic. It's boring. It's timeless. Ethan shook his head, sighing. I thought I knew you. She grinned before turning to the employee behind the counter. One vanilla, please. Ethan groaned. Unbelievable. Then he ordered his usual, a mix of 3 different flavors topped with way too many sprinkles. They grabbed their ice creams and found a bench outside, sitting down as the sky darkened into deeper shades of blue. For a few minutes, they ate in comfortable silence, the distant hum of cars and faint laughter from nearby diners filling the air. Then after a while Ethan spoke. Do you ever think about what you would have done differently? Madison swallowed a bite of ice cream. With Olivia and Ryan? He nodded. She sighed, staring down at her cup. A few weeks ago I would have said I wished I'd never trusted them. That I should have seen it coming. She paused. But now, I don't know. Maybe I needed to go through it. Ethan looked at her, curious. I mean, yeah, it hurt like hell, she admitted. But I learned a lot about myself. About what I deserve. And what I don't. Ethan smirked. That's surprisingly wise. Madison rolled her eyes. I am capable of wisdom, you know. I don't know. I'm still recovering from the vanilla betrayal. She laughed, nudging him again. You'll survive. They fell into silence again, watching as the stars started to appear above them. Madison thought about Olivia. How different things could have been if she had made different choices. But in the end, Olivia had chosen her path and Madison had chosen hers. And then there was Ryan. Once she had thought he was everything. Now he felt like a distant mistake, a lesson she had learned the hard way. She wasn't bitter anymore. He was just done. Madison turned to Ethan. Thanks, by the way. He raised an eyebrow. For what? For being here. For making me laugh when I didn't want to. For not telling me, I told you so, even though I know you wanted to. Ethan smirked. Oh, I definitely wanted to. Madison rolled her eyes but smiled. Seriously. I don't think I would have gotten through this without you. Ethan's smirk softened into something gentler. You would have. You're stronger than you think, Maddie. She blinked, caught off guard by the sincerity in his voice. For a moment she just looked at him, her heart doing something weird and unsteady in her chest. Something she wasn't sure she was ready to understand. So she shook her head, smiling. God, that was almost sweet. Ethan groaned. You ruin every moment. She laughed. It's a gift. They sat there until their ice cream cups were empty and the night stretched endlessly before them. Maybe she didn't have everything figured out. Maybe she was still healing. But she wasn't alone. And for now that was enough. The end. Madison's journey wasn't about revenge or making Olivia and Ryan pay. It was about finding herself again, learning who she was beyond the betrayal. And she did. With a little sarcasm, a lot of strength, and one annoyingly charming best friend by her side. Thank you for reading.
Akumah Audiobooks.
You have reached to the end of the story. Thank you for listening to Akumah Audiobooks. For more stories like this, refer to channel playlist and stay tuned by subscribing to the channel.